Well, hello, my name is John Watts. I'm an Alabama consumer protection attorney, and we're going to talk today about an example of an actual federal court lawsuit. And we'll be doing a series of these, and I hope that this will be helpful to see what real people went through dealing with debt collectors or mortgage companies, credit reporting agencies, and how they solved their problem. So first of all, summary of the case. This is a case where our client settled a debt with a debt buyer, and then that debt buyer ended up collecting against our consumer and actually suing our consumer. So let's get into it. So our guy gets from a debt buyer, which is a company that buys up debt, and in this case it was LVNV. So LVNV, or one of its collection agencies, sends a settlement letter, and our client, the consumer, pays the settlement amount. And I forget the details. It maybe was $5,000 allegedly owed on the debt, and they offered to settle it for $3,000. So our guy pays $3,000. This is long before he ever came to us. And so that should have ended the matter, but it didn't. Instead, LVNV actually sues the consumer for the, quote, balance on the settled debt. So said he owed $5,000, he paid $3,000, so they sued him for $2,000. But remember, he settled it. He paid the $3,000. They said, if you pay $3,000, you're done. And he paid the $3,000, but he wasn't done because LVNV sued him. So our client, it wasn't our client at the time, but this consumer, he had to either answer that lawsuit within 14 days because he was sued in Alabama, either small claims or district court. And if he did not answer, then LVNV would have received a default judgment. And if our guy had received a default judgment and came back later and said, but I really don't owe it, LVNV would have said, hey, that's too bad. You lost your case. There's a judgment against you. Now, fortunately, he answered the lawsuit, and he pointed out in his answer, guys, I settled this. I don't owe anything. I settled it. But LVNV ignored that. And so we asked the question, well, why did LVNV ignore this? Why did the debt buyer, when they knew that they had already settled this with the consumer, then they sue the consumer, then the consumer says, guys, wait a minute, I already paid this. Why would LVNV ignore that? Well, either they're incompetent and they just can't read when somebody files a court pleading, or they thought, hey, we can get some more money out of this guy. So the case gets set for trial. It's what happens when a debt buyer files a lawsuit, consumer answers it, it gets set for trial. Right before trial, I want to say maybe Thursday or Friday, LVNV asked the court to dismiss the case or drop the case without prejudice. Now, without prejudice means it's kind of like the lawsuit was never filed. They could sue him again. And so the question is, why would they want to dismiss a lawsuit without prejudice when there was never any legitimate basis to file the lawsuit? So they claimed, now whether it was true or not doesn't really matter, but they claimed he owed $5,000. They said, pay us $3,000 and we're done. He paid them $3,000. And now they want to preserve their right to sue him again. So there's no legitimate basis for wanting to dismiss this without prejudice. If LVNV had really made a mistake, they would have said, oh my goodness, we're so sorry. We're going to drop this case with prejudice immediately. But instead they go, no, we want it without prejudice so that they could sue him again. Well, the judge said, thanks, but no thanks. You've sued a man. He answered it. We're going to trial. Okay. Well, so trial happens. Guess who doesn't show up? LVNV does not show up. They're nowhere to be found. Well, if they don't show up at trial, kind of hard to win. So LVNV, they lost this case. Case that never should have been filed. Case they should have dismissed with prejudice. It actually goes to trial, and by this time the consumer had reached out to us and hired us, so we're there at trial, and LVNV is not. It's just amazing. So here's a problem. We've got a consumer who is sued on a bogus debt, because remember, he owed zero because he had settled the case, settled the alleged debt before there was ever a lawsuit. And LVNV has sued him, and LVNV does false credit reporting. So what's the solution? Well, the solution is you sue LVNV in federal court for money damages. So here are the laws that we use. We use the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And this is a law that governs debt collectors and debt buyers like LVNV. And it says, look, you can't lie when you collect debt. You can't do something unfair when you collect debt. So if you're saying somebody owes money when they really don't, sounds like a lie. If you're suing a man when he doesn't owe the debt, seems pretty unfair to me. So that's one of the laws that we use. We also used Alabama state law. And there were a number of state laws that we use, but one in particular is called malicious prosecution. And that's a law that says if you're sued and there's no basis for that lawsuit, then that's illegal. So if we go back, FDCPA, that's a federal law. Don't do anything untrue. Don't do anything unfair. Alabama state law, including malicious prosecution, says you sued us with no basis to do so. And so how can this help you? Well, I hope that this makes you cautious about settlements. And it makes you say, you know what, if I'm settling a debt, I better be careful because this sort of stuff can happen. And when the law is violated, you need to look into suing. So here's one thought for you. When you're settling, make sure it's in writing and keep everything. Our client kept it. Here's the settlement letter. Here's his canceled check. Here's where he sent it to LVNV. He kept all that. So important, critically important to keep this stuff. And a lot of times we say, well, I just want to get rid of this. I mean, I settled it. I don't want to think about it. And you should be able to do that. But these companies sometimes will not play fair. And so you better keep everything to protect yourself. So what do you do when they violate the law? Well, you sue. Well, why do you sue? Well, it helps you, get you money damages if you're successful. And it helps protect your community because these debt buyers, these debt collectors, both the one you sue and the others that watch lawsuits, they know what's happening. And if they see that, all right, in Birmingham, Alabama, or Tuscaloosa, Huntsville, Montgomery, Mobile, Auburn, wherever it is, that when they violate the law, people in those counties, those cities, those communities will fight back in federal court, that discourages these guys from breaking the law in your community. So when you file a lawsuit in federal court, it helps you and it also helps protect your community. So if you have any questions or comments, you can put those below this video, or you may be watching this on one of our websites. You can put a comment below. If you have a specific question and you live in Alabama, feel free to reach out to us, 205-879-2447. You can also contact us through alabamaconsumer.com. That's our primary consumer website. We have a lot of articles, videos on there, and more than happy to help you. And I just want to leave you with this thought. There's nothing wrong with a debt collector collecting debt. There's nothing wrong with a debt buyer collecting debt as long as they follow the law, as long as they play by the rules. If they do that, then fair. That's fair. But when they violate the law, when they cheat, when they do things that are unfair, that's when somebody, and that somebody is you need to stand up. You need to say, no, you're not going to do this in my community. And if you do this in my community, I'm going to sue you in federal court. You're going to pay money damages, and this will discourage you from breaking the law. It will encourage you and the other debt collectors out there to follow the law. So I think that's a great result. So if we can help you in any way, or if you have any comments or questions, feel free to get in touch with us or to put them below this video or article or wherever you may be watching this. So thanks for watching this and hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.